Hi, everyone. Kate Bora and Fiona Pearman joining you this month. We're in June for this week's Facebook Live on executive detachment. And I think this is a really interesting conversation for us to be having with you. It's something we haven't talked about before, something that we dug into with our alumni of our Acts of Confidence program. And I think this one is really interesting because as we facilitated the conversation with our past clients, our alumni around this, we really started to talk about right-sizing responsibility. And what we saw emerge was a lot of the pain and frustration, the energy, the emotion that comes with perhaps being too invested in some of the projects or even the outcomes that we are responsible for at work.
Yeah, I think what we've found is that people care a lot, which is fantastic, and they want to do a good job. And in fact, sometimes we're over-identified with that. And it's almost as though we have taken on a greater responsibility, or we see ourselves as being necessary in a way that means we're compromised. And so we started to unpack, well, what's this thing and what could we do about it? And a term I've often used in coaching executives is executive detachment. It often helps people start to unpack and to see that it's great to care to a certain level. What's the amount of my responsibility here? What's my place in this system at this time? And where does that start and stop?
Yeah, I think that language around what's my place, what's my order, what's my responsibility, actually starting to have conscious conversation to get clear about what that looks like for me. I think often our passion or our care factor is so high that we sometimes take on perhaps more than is appropriate or relevant for our role and our delegated responsibility. And then often it's that eagerness or passion and then often related investment and care factor that can sometimes come back and hit us when things don't go our way. For example, when decisions are made that we don't agree with, when the senior executives move forward, perhaps in a direction that from our perspective doesn't seem right. And so our ability to understand what executive detachment is, I think they to also understand what it's not. And this isn't about not caring or being cold or aloof or not involved, right? It's about understanding your role, your position, what you're responsible for, and equally, and I think this is often the more valuable conversation, what you're not responsible for, and having really good explicit conversations and agreements around that.
Yeah, there can be a fair degree of nuance in this. And it really does take some consciousness and almost a stepping back, changing your perspective and being willing to evaluate, what is my part of this? Where can I contribute well? And where can I do that in a way that's constructive? And where might I be overstepping the mark and potentially taking on too much and actually not really being that effective, just getting really frustrated and in some cases resentful? And I was having a conversation with one of our AOC alumni a few weeks ago, and she said, "Oh, Fiona, my whole world has changed now, because before I was trying to step in, I could see things that were going wrong and I could see potentially things that I knew about, but they weren't actually part of my role or my remit. And so I was actually stepping on a colleague's toes. She was getting a bit annoyed, understandably. And once I realized that actually this was my responsibility, I can offer opinions if I'm asked, I can share where it's valuable, but I don't have to step into every single thing that I see that could potentially go sideways, or maybe a bit of my past experience warns me that something needs to happen in a certain way. And I think that clarity, which is, acts of confidence number one, that clarity of her role and her place meant she could make really good, discerning, judicious decisions about how much or how little she stepped in to some of the things that really belonged actually to other people in the business.
Yeah, I think, that link, this is the link to confidence, right? Is when you're really clear about what's yours and what's not yours, then you can speak up with certainty. You can say no when something's not in your responsibility, or equally not put your hat in the ring or not put your hand up to help out for things that maybe are not your responsibility. You're able to right-size the risk, knowing what is your responsibility, knowing what's not your responsibility. And I think all of this starts to really manage the level of energy, frustration, sometimes anxiety and overwhelm if we're taking responsibility for more than is appropriate or relevant for our role. And often the level of anxiety, stress, overwhelm leading to burnout, often all of that, right, can be far bigger than what is necessary or what's appropriate. And I think this ability to be able to have good, explicit conversations, what's yours, what's not yours, creates certainty. And we know that certainty creates confidence.
Yes, and I think it's that place of certainty, that willingness to unpack what's going on, to examine some of the things that are not working for me, and to ask good questions, to gain clarity, and then to have some healthy boundaries around things. I mean, we often say, active confidence number 6 is about being able to set and enforce boundaries, but sometimes those boundaries can be within us. What's the boundary I need to set for myself around this particular project or this particular situation? I mean, we often see, people who are part of something taking, maybe 80 or 90% responsibility. There are, a whole team here. Our responsibility may only sit at 20 or 30%. And again, it's that right sizing perspective that really helps us, I think, show up in the best possible way, resource to do the work we can without entering that state of overwhelm or burnout.
Yeah, I think lots to dig into with this month's theme. One I'm really excited about, one I'm practicing personally as well. And so I really encourage you to, listen to this one a couple of times. Let some of the pieces resonate with you. Maybe doing some journaling on it can be really valuable. It's something our AOC participants do regularly to really start to dig into what this looks like, sounds like and feels like for you. We're going to leave it there. If you've enjoyed today's confidence conversation, we'd love to hear from you. Drop us a note below. If you know someone in your world who could benefit from one of our confidence conversations, we'd love for you to share this with them. Of course, our Facebook page has loads and loads of our Facebook Lives we've been doing now for years over there. Feel free to head over there and dig into some more content there. And when you are ready to go deeper with your relationship with core confidence, please visit our website, coreconfidence.com.au.